Hello everyone, this is episode number 23 of G.GOES Live, my weekly show broadcasting from Per-vurt DJ and Music Production School and Studio. This session is a solo session. I do it every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and in this session I usually take your questions, answer all your questions. And I posted earlier today or yesterday a post on my Facebook. If you have some questions, and I received few, I will answer them tonight. And if you have questions, please post them now. Any question you want. This is a question and answer. It could be some questions related to music production, DJing, music business, nightlife, signing, labels, anything, okay? So let me go through the questions first that I received yesterday. I have a question from Jad Dweck. Please talk about the difference between FL Studio and the others, and which DAW is actually the best for to use. I also have questions from Bionic Nareg, releasing tracks and getting support. Okay, and Rami Shatila also, he's asking difference between mixing commercial trance, hip hop, and underground music. What are the main points that a DJ should concentrate on? Mahmoud Najjar asking which computer brand and hardware to trust for DJ live mixing softwares doesn't crash, between brackets. And he's asking, do you trust Tractor software or do you recommend it for wedding environment? And actually, that's it. Walid Haushar, talk about your brilliant students. Anyway, those are the questions I received. I'm jumping to the video post so I can also check new questions by you. I'm a bit sick today, so excuse me for that. As I said, this is episode number 23, and at episode number 25, I will have to take a break. Okay, so I will announce the end of season 1 of G.GOES Live, not the end of the show, of course, but I need a break. I wanted to do it tonight actually, but I'm OCD. I can't do it on episode number 23. It should be episode number 25, so I can make it a season 1, let's say. And it's also because I need to change a lot of things related to the concept of this show and related to the image itself, how we go live, and also when I am alone doing the G.GOES Live solo session, it won't be a 1 hour discussion. I have to find a way to share my computer screen and to have cameras spotted on hardware and software so you can see what I'm doing. I want to post tutorials in season 2, so it will be more interesting, I guess. And of course, I will also be featuring guests every other week. And maybe in season 2, I will also feature other than DJs and producers, maybe some artists, some bands, or people in the music business, or acoustic, or engineers, etc. So I really wanted to end this season tonight, but I couldn't, as I said, because of the number 23. It's episode 23. I have to wait until it's 25. And let me also tell you a few things that happened recently and that are going to happen soon. First of all, next week I will be launching the Per-vurt Sessions video edition. My Per-vurt Sessions, it's a radio show on Proton Los Angeles. It's once a month, but Per-vurt Session video edition is going to be weekly, featuring our students mainly. This is going to be a platform. Per-vurt is going to be a platform for those students to shoot a live video. It's not going to be broadcasted live, by the way. And each student of our selection, of course, will come and shoot a 1 hour video mix. And this mix will be also recorded on Ableton for mastering purposes, of course, high quality. And it's going to be also videotaped, 3 cameras, high definition, montage, etc. So it's a concept I started shooting last 2 weeks, last week, maybe the week before. And the concept also of this Per-vurt session is to promote the DJs, the bedroom DJs, as much as we can. We are going to also invest in sponsoring those mixes, so they will be running on sponsored ads locally and internationally as well. And we are going to do our best to feature them in gigs, stuff like that. Now, also, this Per-vurt Session show will also feature guest of the week, an established DJ and producer. And this Saturday we have Rhea shooting, next week Ziad Ghassan, and the list goes on. What also happened last Saturday, we finished shooting for the documentary that I'm sure 90% of you don't know about, but it's a documentary I've been working on since last year, and Jade was here in the studio and we shot the last interview. Finally, now we can start editing this big project. So if you notice how tired I am, the DJ school and music production school is overbooked, and there's a huge waiting list. Also on Friday, I also announced a new project which is called A Day With, between brackets. A Day With is an up close and personal workshop / masterclass that is going to happen from time to time here at Per-vurt Studio. And the first artist to launch this project is Robert Babic. So Robert is going to be here on Friday, where 8 people will have the chance to spend a day with him. He will be showcasing tracks, he will be talking about mastering, he will be giving a master class about synthesis, mixing, engineering, and all aspects of music production and synthesis. So those are the projects we have been working on. Actually, there's no we here, it's only me, but I'm used to say we. I don't have any team, unfortunately, and maybe I love that to some point. And if you guys are willing to help, it will be amazing and awesome, so we can all form a small team and work together on things we love. And what else? We have, I have a lot of projects going on. I'm shooting a lot of documentaries, I'm shooting a lot of product demos, preparing for the season 2 of G.GOES Live, of course, which I'm going to take a break in 2 weeks from now. It will be, episode number 25 will be the last episode for this season. I will close this season with a guest as well. And after that, things will be, of course, for the better. Season 2 is going to be for the better. And I can see here you guys, you're posting questions and you're joining. So let's start. Let's start with the first question asked by Bionic Nareg. He's asking about releasing tracks and getting support. So I think you're asking about how to release your music, how to contact labels, and how to be supported. Okay, let me tell you something about releasing music on labels. First of all, when you are a producer and you finish a track, of course you go through different stages of production, and you have to have a demo. We call it a demo, of course, a ready demo, and preferably this demo should be finalized, mixed, and mastered. Some labels, they ask for to master your music, of course, but you have to present a clean demo. And the way you present the demo is very important. I talked about this a lot in previous sessions, and it's how you approach the label, okay? And which label to approach. Now, I will tell you some few tips. I can't discuss all aspects, of course. For example, me as a label, I have a label. I have 3 labels actually: Per-vurt Records, Vertical, and Pink Pervs. They are all top charted as well, and I receive more than 100 demos per week. So there is a demo email. Unfortunately, it's online. I did it. I can't stop it. But we receive a lot of demos. So if the label doesn't reply to you, it means they are not interested in your music. And it's for me, it's better not to reply rather than reply with a no or whatever. I don't like this rejection, but you have to really. Maybe you give the label maximum of 10 days. If they don't reply, you can just send to another label. And it's a fault or a mistake you can do if you send your demo to multiple emails at the same time. If a label notices this is kind of disrespect for the label, and I don't advise you to really do that. So just know what labels release similar music and contact them with a link to your demo on SoundCloud, private link of course, and don't have your demo online already on SoundCloud, YouTube, etc., and don't have it on all the online stores that share music, etc. So it's called a demo. A demo should be exclusive for the label. If the label, go by priority. If the first label doesn't answer, then you can move on and send to another label. Don't ever send disclosed recipients. This is called disclosed recipients. You can have a list of 100,000 labels, and you just send an email to all of them, waiting for your luck. If you are lucky, one of them will answer. Don't do that, and don't approach labels that don't actually release music that sound like your music in any way. After you do this process, when you finalize your track and when you have a track ready and when you look for a label, you can do that on Beatport, for example, to look for labels. You can go search tracks, search by artists maybe, or by releases, some tracks you like that sound like your track. You can check which label released those tracks, and you can find their email or website and contact them. Now, if you are a new artist, of course, I was a new artist one day, and everyone was a new artist one day. And I can tell you a small tip. When you are a new artist, a fresh artist, you will be thinking that your track is the best track in the world, and you will be showing or making people listen to it with a huge smile on your face. That's very natural. We all did this. We all had this energy when we started producing. But in my opinion and in my advice, before you make anyone listen to your music, just make one person who is more established than you, a producer, listen to it first and give you a very professional, very honest opinion if your track is ready to be heard by those labels or not. Okay? Because once you give a first impression, that's it. If you give a first impression that is not balanced with what this label is all about, they will X you, and they will just they won't take you seriously in the future, even if you become a very big producer. So those are just pinpoints. You're asking releasing tracks and getting support. So it's not you who's most of the times, what is a label anyway? A label will sign your track, so they will own the copyright, and they will own the all the rights of your track, from layers to the whole music composition, etc. So they are the ones who will be sending the promo to big artists. Okay, so for example, if I sign you, you might wake up one day and check the internet. You might see that, for example, Hernan Cataneo charted your track, and who sent it? So that's the job of the label actually. And also the job of the label is to prepare this release and do the cover art, design, etc., get you remixers. Actually, they don't talk to you afterwards. When they sign your music, they don't really talk to you a lot. They will be doing their work without your opinion anyway, and they will be choosing remixers for this EP, etc., 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 and that's how you get the support. So if your track, for example, is signed with a label that is connected to those artists, to those big artists, then surely they will be sending this demo or promo, to those artists, and if they like it, they will play it. And when they play it, of course, they send the promo maybe a month or two before it gets released, and when those people play it, people might be interested to buy it later on, and that's when your music can be heard by a lot of other people. And some people, when they see your name in those charts, they can follow you on Beatport, etc., etc. So that's how you grow. So my advice to you: don't send a demo to a label before you are very, very sure that this demo is, first of all, it fits in this label. Second of all, look at the artist on the label. If you have very established artists and you're a new artist, don't even try. Don't send. Okay, go step by step. Okay. So I hope I answered you, Bionic Nareg. Now let's move to Rami Shatila. He's asking difference between mixing commercial trance, hip hop, and underground music. What are the main points that a DJ should concentrate on? Well, Rami is a student here as well. let me tell you about the styles first. When you want to become an established DJ, you don't really play. I mean, you will have a signature that belongs to you. Okay, so when you are, for example, when you are an established stage DJ, you tend to have a certain style you always play, and that's a signature. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say Hernan Cattaneo. Okay, he is an established producer and DJ, and he plays progressive house / techno. That's it. He never plays hip hop or whatever. So for someone to play different styles, it's okay. You can also be that kind of DJ, which is also a DJ, of course. And you mentioned commercial, trance, hip hop, underground music, etc. So what are the main points that a DJ should concentrate on? Now, I don't understand if you want to mix them together, or you want to mix them, you want to be able to mix them at one point. But if I have to answer you, I will say you can't mix, for example, trance with hip hop. That's not they cannot be blended together. Or you cannot mix, for example, Arabic music with. Actually, you can mix Arabic music with anything, but I mean, you can't mix 4/4 beat signature with that is on 140 BPM with a hip hop track which is at 105 BPM. So when you don't have the same tempo, you cannot blend. You can do transitions, of course, but you cannot blend the music together. Now, I think Rami answered me about something. Maybe I misunderstood. Yes, just wanted to know the difference and I'm more into underground. Okay, the difference. Okay, I got your point now. So Rami is also asking if I'm mixing R&B and hip hop, not with any other style, or if I'm mixing trance music, or if I'm mixing dance music or whatever. What should I take into consideration? This is a good question. Now I understand you, Rami. I'll tell you some few pinpoints, okay, which we talked about in class, by the way, but it's all about the decision that you make, whether you want to do transition or you want to actually blend and mix two songs together, okay, or more, of course. Now, if you want to blend the music together, you need to be playing the music from the same tempo or similar tempo, of course, and you need to be also focusing on the time signature. So if you're playing dance music, which is four to the floor, 4 beats, okay, you need to be also mixing the same style or different style, but that has same or similar tempo. So it is actually possible to mix 4/4 trance, let's say, with Arabic music that is on similar tempo. Why not? They have different time signature, but they have similar tempo or close to each other. You can just do the tempo match and you can blend them together. So when you mix hip hop, for example, the way the track is structured, the way it's produced, that's what you need to take into consideration. Is it a maxi track? That's number one. Okay, is it a long extended track, or is it a radio edit track? This is one of the most important factors, because if you are mixing a very short edit with a very long edit, okay, this is when you get into trouble, because one track, which is the short edit, it has a very short intro and maybe no outro or very short outro, and the other track has a very long intro and very long outro, and maybe it has different structure, doesn't have, for example, chorus verse, etc. It might have, for example, a break or whatever. So this is something very important. You need to take into consideration the structure of the tracks and the type of this track. Is it radio edit? Is it long extended, etc., etc., etc. So I'll give you an example. If you're mixing 2 hip hop songs and one of them has an intro of 2 phrases, that means 4 bars and 4 bars. And if you're mixing with it another track, you're planning to mix the other song with it, and it also has an outro of only 1 phrase. What do you do? So the concept here is to mix the intro on top of the outro. Now, of course, this is not the only possible correct way. That's one way of mixing, okay? Some people mix inside the bridge. Some people don't wait for the outro. Some people don't mix from the intro anyway. You have different ways of mixing, different styles of mixing, and they are all correct under one condition: if the mix sounds good. That's it. So I'm not here to judge any way. Maybe my favorite way is to mix the intro, which has, of course, the purpose of the intro is to mix it on top of, for DJing, you know. The intro doesn't have the main lyrics, doesn't have the main vocal, doesn't have the main melody, and the outro, of course, doesn't also have those main elements. So when you're mixing the intro on top of the outro, you will be actually blending the music, and you will be doing something called phrase matching. Okay, you have beat matching, you have key matching, you have tempo matching, you have phrase matching. Phrase matching is very important. The last thing you want to have is to mix two songs where the two a cappellas just go together. This is a disaster, a nightmare. So you need to have a phrase matching, a structure match. When the outro is mixed, or when the intro is mixed with the outro. So what happens in the intro? In the intro you have every phrase or whatever, there's an addition of element. It's additive, okay? The producer adds something, he builds up, okay? And in the outro, it's the complete opposite. So the producer starts to remove some element. And when you mix an intro with an outro, the plus will be mixed with the minus, and that's when you have a flawless mix. Those are elements that will replace each other. Okay, the bass line was out of the mix, now you have a new bass line coming in. So that's how you have a continuous flow. Again, that's one way of mixing, and it's not the only correct way. That's one way of mixing, which is mixing intro on top of outro, which I find, for my own style, my own taste in mixing, which is the most professional and which is the most logical anyway. So back to the example. Let's say you have a track with two phrases of intro. Two phrases, that's 16 beats and 16 beats. That's 8 bars, okay? You have 8 bars of intro. And the track that is already playing has only one phrase in the outro, okay? So the verse or the chorus ended, and now, or the bridge, of course, and now you have one phrase which is 16 beats or 4 bars only for the track to end. What do you do? If you mix at the outro a track with two phrases in its intro, one phrase will be mixed with one phrase. That's great. Now the other track ended, and now you are left with one phrase only before the second track starts in the main body of it, okay? So this one phrase is actually offbeat or empty, or it's not offbeat actually, it's off phrase matching. It's not actually, it's boring. It's a boring section. You're still in the intro. People are listening to the intro still. So here you have two solutions. You can actually take a cue point not at the very first beat of the track. You can just wait until the first phrase ended, and you can take a cue point at the second phrase. That's when you only have one phrase of the intro mixed with only one phrase in the outro, and that's it. You have an intro on top of outro, same length. But this is something that you cannot actually guess while you're mixing live, because you cannot tell people, wait, I want to go see this outro, how many phrases it has until it ends. You cannot do that. So you can use technology, of course. You can use Rekordbox to add a flag, and you can write comments. You can do a lot of things using technology, so that you know prior in advance that this track has only one phrase in the outro, and this track has two phrases in the intro, etc., etc., etc. But the second solution, which is on the fly, which is amazing, is that you can wait until the outro. You can press play from the beginning of the song that has two phrases in the intro. That's 8 bars, and you have only 4 bars in the outro. And instead of letting the track play till the end and stop, you can actually take a loop of that outro. So when you take an in point and then an out point at the end of this outro, that's a loop. So that's the beginning of the outro, and that's the end of the outro, and you take a loop. So when you reach the end of the track will play again from the last phrase, as if you took this phrase, which is 4 bars of the outro, and you duplicate it in an editing software. So now you have an outro of 2 phrases, and you're mixing an intro of 2 phrases. That's called phrase matching. You're matching the phrases. The structure is perfect. And of course, you have a longer time on the mixer. And my favorite way of mixing is when you have a longer time on the mixer where you can do your technique in mixing. We were talking about short edit tracks, and some other tracks, if you want to mix a radio edit with only one phrase in the intro, with an extended track that has 8 phrases in the outro, now that's also possible. Everything is possible in mixing if you know what you're doing. But if you come and tell me I want to mix a trance track with a hip-hop track and blend them together, that's impossible. Don't even try, because they are not on the same tempo or similar tempo. Unless they are, of course, you can blend 2 styles together. So, Rami, I think I answered you. And thanks for this message, by the way. Thanks for this question. It's great. Mahmoud Najjar is asking which computer brand and hardware to trust. By the way, guys, those are the questions I received yesterday or today. And I will be back to your questions you posted today. So stay with me. Meanwhile, please, if you can share this video, it's only 1 click away. I will be more than thankful, and I will be happy to have more people. We all share things together. Show me some love. And by the way, I see a lot of people joining from abroad. So if you also can let me know where you're watching me from, which country. Mahmoud Najjar is asking which computer brand and hardware to trust for DJ live mixing softwares doesn't crash. Now, Mahmoud, let me tell you something. No computer will crash. Okay, that's a misconception. You can't say Mac is better than Windows, okay, or PC or etc. You cannot say this. Mac crashes a lot, by the way, okay, but you have to find the reason why your computer is crashing. It's not because it's Windows or Mac. Simply, it's because you have to look inside your computer and check what is this conflict that is happening. Now, 99.99% of the people in Lebanon, they use Windows, which is cracked. Okay, it's a cracked version of Windows. They don't buy software. Okay, and that's one major reason. If you have a cracked software, a cracked operating system, that's Windows. Wow. So the main operating system is cracked, and the antivirus is blocking it from being updated always and going parallel with all the drivers of your softwares. Then that's your problem. You know what I mean? So the reason for the crash is not actually the operating system or the computer. It's software is being cracked, or you have virus, or you have a lot of software is running in the background while you are using the DJ software. So there's no which computer brand and hardware to trust. It's not like this. Get something decent, be original, don't get too many cracks, or none actually, inside your computer, fake softwares, keygens, viruses, etc., and you will be fine. Now, of course, unless your computer is too old and the software is too new and it doesn't handle at one point, and unless the temperature of the computer goes really high, then that's a normal physical problem. And he asked, do you trust Traktor software, or do you recommend it for wedding environment? Traktor software is the best software ever created on the universe. No one can say anything about it, at least to me. Okay, we're done with it. But if I want to answer you, for weddings, I don't really like to use software anyway. None. Okay, for weddings, it's easier for you to use a CDJ or a multiplayer and with cue points. That's it. But if you are prepared, that's the key. Okay. If you are prepared, I mean in the meaning of the grid of all the tracks. Now technology is helping you a lot. It's giving you the chance to warp your music. It's giving you the chance to bring the difference in tempo and in the grid back on the grid. That's quantization and all these things. It's helping you also fix your music grid, even if there's no problem actually in the track. Even if the track is from the 60s, 70s, you can actually fix the grid and have it more constant. So one of the major features in software, any software actually, but Traktor is the best one for that, is that you can save a lot of loops in it. You can perform, because in weddings, and by the way, here in Beirut, if you if you do a research on who are the DJs who do weddings, those are all my customers, and most of them, they work on Traktor. I don't want to name them now, but they all work on Traktor. They get the S8, the F1, etc. So most of the people who bought the Traktor Control F1, they bought it for wedding purposes, because they have the ability to add a lot of samples. Those samples, they can be single shots, like percussions, tabli, dirbaki, etc. Or they can be loops, or they can be sound effect. And in wedding, you need to do things like this, I guess. So actually, the only wedding I attended in my entire life was a wedding of my friend Hassan Karaki. That's it. So I don't know much what happens there, but I always see videos online. People tend to do performance more, so they tend to include a lot of percussion, sound effects, maybe the name of the husband, etc. Blah blah blah. So this technique of mashing up a lot of samples, and the technique of jumping from a track to a track in a very fast way, where you have your organized playlist and everything is just one pad, one push away. Okay, in Traktor, for example, you can use the deck C and D. Those are the third and fourth deck. You can use 64 pads, 64 sounds, loops or tracks or single shots in just one channel. Okay, so you can jump to your prepared sound effects or loops or whatever in no time. So we jump to Walid Hawshar. Talk about your brilliant students. He's one of my brilliant students. So if I want to talk about you, Walid, I will not actually. I need more more episodes. So we jump to Jad Dweck. He was like, please talk about the difference between FL Studio and the others, and which DAW is actually the best to use. Now, Jad, as I said in my reply to you on Facebook, I don't use FL Studio. I never used it, and I cannot talk about it, but I can tell you the strong points of Ableton Live. And if you can compare this with that, then it will be a benefit for you. So I cannot, of course, mention them all. If you really want to check all the strong points of Ableton, go back to episode, I forgot the number of the episode, but there was an episode with Mo Zaza. He was my guest. He's a tutor here at Per-vurt, and he teaches Ableton Live performance. And we had 1 hour to mention every strong point about the software. But if you want me to tell you, for example, the top 5 that come to mind now, first thing is that Ableton has 2 ways of production. It's for live performance, and it's for production using the arrangement interface that most of the softwares they have. But the good thing about it is that the session view in Ableton, which is non-linear. Non-linear, what does it mean? It means it doesn't follow any timeline. So you can add your clips, loops, samples, or even your recorded pieces of music. And you can perform and check how your arrangement will look like later on, etc., etc., etc. So the way of production in Ableton is super fast. It's super user-friendly. And what you can do with the software, I'm 100% sure you cannot do with any other software, because that's a patented technology. It's super easy. Ask anyone about it. Your session view, which is non-linear, it doesn't follow any timeline. So it doesn't matter what length each clip is, they will all be playing together in an endless loop. And it's so easy to trigger one loop or a bunch of loops together and stopping some of them to check how they sound together, etc., etc., etc. So that's one major strong point. Now the second one, which is actually maybe the first one, this is the first one that I'm going to say now, is the global quantization inside the browser. What does global quantization mean? Now, when you go to your browser and you want to check some samples or loops to decide if you want to take them inside your project or no. So now you're still in your browser, okay? Even when you are in the browser, when you click on a loop or sample or whatever, Ableton will let you hear it in sync mode with your project. Okay, so let's say you started a project, you layered some beats. Now you go to your loop library to check some percussion loop. You don't have to take the loop inside Ableton, stretch it to match the same tempo, put it on top of your drum pattern that you produced earlier, pressing play to preview if it sounds good or no, so that you can choose it or not. That takes a lot of time. In Ableton, you don't do these things at all. You click on it once while it's still in the browser window, and Ableton will launch it also at the beginning of the bar, okay? So even if you clicked on the loop while it's in the browser window, Ableton will not launch it with your music playing in the background. It will wait until there is a beginning of a bar, and it will launch the loop in sync mode, same length, same everything, and you can preview your clips and loops and samples on the fly while they are still in the browser. That's, I think, the best and most important feature. While you're conceiving a track and browsing your library, it's super fast. You don't have to do anything from stretching the loop to matching the tempo to anything. It just syncs up through the warp mode that Ableton can offer, okay? So this is number 2. Actually, that was the most priority. If I want to say, for example, number 3, I can say that Ableton has a very user-friendly interface to perform, because music production can also happen through performance, not only through the arrangement section. So you have this session view and you can perform. It's more fun. It's more fun to record your performance and edit it later on. For example, you prepare a certain session with all your loops and all your created patterns, everything, and you can start performing. So that's, you're getting something plus. You're not only producing, you're performing, recording your performance in multi-track, recording your automations on the fly, and now everything is in the arrangement already. Now you go to your arrangement and edit anything you want, or you can continue working on the track there in the arrangement, okay? So that's what, 3 or 4? I forgot. It was 3 maybe. Now number 4 I can think of is the devices, of course. The Max for Live. Max for Live is an engine that is not available in any other software. It's only exclusive for Ableton, and you cannot imagine what you can do with Max for Live. Max for Live is, I think, underestimated, underrated, because it comes with Suite mainly, the Ableton Suite. And this engine has a lot of plugins, and this is an open source, so any engineer who knows how to do coding can use Max engine to create his own plugin. And I've created one, by the way, which is a DJ mixer. So for example, the equalizer in Ableton is the knobs, they don't actually have a 0 dB point on the center. The 0 dB is actually not in the center. It's somehow tilted. So I created my own plugin, which is a very simple EQ3 with low and mid and high, but I created them to be on the center. When you have a 0 dB, it will be in the center, just like any other mixer, and when you control it with any controller, it will be logical when you're DJing. So you can create, now you're also going into engineering. It's very easy. It's not that hard if you want to do basic stuff, but this is a door for you to go into another also world of creating devices, and there's a huge community online. You can go on Ableton forums or Max for Live forums, and you can find people sharing their plugins. And guess what? The good thing about it is when you get a Max for Live plugin, some of them, most of them, or whatever, they are for free, and if you pay for them, they are not expensive, but they can do magic. Guess what? This plugin is actually not closed, so you can see it, the interface of it, and when you click on it, there's an icon where you can go to the Max engine and check the engineering. What do you call it? The engineering schema of it. Okay. You can actually change what other people did with it. Okay, so it's really something huge. One of my best Max for Live plugins is called LFO. LFO, I'm not sure if all of you know what LFO is. This is the low frequency oscillation. This is how you modulate something, and LFO is available in every single synthesizer you see here in my studio. There is an LFO. That's how you generate a low frequency oscillation, and you link it to a feature like, for example, pitch, and the pitch knob will start moving automatically based on a rate that you choose, a fast rate, for example, or based off also on a depth. You want it to go far away from the center, or you want it to just go a bit away of the center. That's called LFO. I'm not going to explain LFO, but if you want to know about LFO, go back to the episode I did with Elias. It was called Synthesis. You can find it on my playlist, and we talked about synthesis, everything about synthesis, from LFO to envelopes to VCF, VCO, VCA, everything related to synthesis. So Max for Live LFO is an LFO generator, and you can link it to anything you want, because the problem with synthesizers is that the LFO is already linked to something. So you have an LFO generator that is already linked to, for example, the pitch, or some of them they let you link the LFO, but you are very limited to where you can take this LFO, this modulation, what you can do with it. In the LFO of Max for Live, it's a separate device where you can link it to anything. It doesn't have to be linked to, for example, a device, another synthesizer. You can link it to, I don't know, to the tempo of Ableton. It can change, it can do anything you want, okay? So I'm not going to go into detail. As I said in the beginning of this episode, on episode number 25, I will end G.GOES Live Season 1, okay? So there will no longer be G.GOES Live for the next maybe month, or I don't know, but I will be preparing for Season 2. Season 2 will be different, a different camera setup, different image, different sound, and I won't be talking for an hour anymore, okay? So I will be demonstrating things, and I will be sharing my screen somehow. I'm trying to figure out ways on how to do technical tutorials. So you will actually see the plugin I'm talking about. I will demonstrate it. I will let you listen to what it does. I will let you see what happens inside the computer, or on this synthesizer, or on that, etc., etc., etc. It will be shorter episodes, and I will also be featuring guests as usual, maybe different kind of guests, not only DJs and producers, maybe other people as well in the business or in the acoustic engineering or whatever. So we reached what, number 5, fifth thing I like about Ableton, if I will think of something, which is the link function, for example. The link function, which is created by Ableton, and now you don't have to rewire stuff together, software with software, and etc. It's a cross-platform. You can work in sync with any other application. You can send and receive MIDI from and to external world. Like I can send all my MIDIs to all my synthesizers. I talked about this also in 3 episodes from now. I think it was called MIDI routing. I talked about this a lot. So back to your question. I think I answered you, Jad Dweck. And now I'm going to switch to your questions that you are posting on the video on my page. So just give me 1 second, you guys. If you have questions, please post them now. Also, you can share this video to show some love. I would really love to have more interaction, more people. So let's see. And salute back to everyone who is giving me a high five, and the people who are joining, etc., etc., etc. Let's see if we have questions. Rakan Fathallah, hi Mo, do you still hide BPM and waveform so that your students learn how to fully mix by ear with today's technology? Well, actually, Rakan, that's yes. Actually, I used to have a those cardboards cut to the same size of the CD player's screen. That's before, that's on the CDJ 1000. You were a very old student. We used to hide the full screen so the students can no longer see anything. Not even the tempo, not even the percentage, nothing. So that's how we used to teach about beat matching. Rakan, unfortunately, we're not doing this now anymore, but I'm doing it with the advanced course because we changed a little bit with the course. We have an essential DJ course and we have an advanced course. In the advanced, there is no screen, there is no tempo even to see on the screen. There is no bars and visual guide. There's only your ear and your hand. And there's a countdown. This, what do we call it? The clock. So you need to be fast. You need to beat match in less than 7 seconds. Thank you, Rakan. You reminded me of a lot of good things, by the way. So let's see who we have. Also, questions. No questions. I'm really sorry if you posted questions and I can't see them. Let's try to find some questions. So as I said earlier, since we don't have any questions, we're launching Per-vurt Sessions Video Edition next week, and on Friday there will be also a new project called A Day With. It will be launched. That's an up close and personal workshop, a series actually of workshops / master classes that are going to happen here at Per-vurt Studio. And the first artist to give this master class is one of the most important and influential figures in the mastering and production and performance world, who is Robert Babich. He's also playing at on Saturday, the next day. So I am fortunate to have him in the studio for a full day, and only 8 people. It got sold out actually in only 5 hours after we announced it. Next time, most probably such workshops will happen in a different venue, so that we can get more people who called. And I'm really sorry, guys, that a lot of you got turned down, but the studio doesn't fit, and it was just 5 hours after we announced. Many of our students, Gunther was the first one to buy a ticket, and they all bought those tickets, and it got sold out. So let's see, do we have more questions, you guys? No questions? If you don't have any questions, I will have to leave because I'm a bit sick. Rami Shatila, okay. Who else? Cheers from Riyadh. George Shwairi, cheers from Beirut. George, and I don't think we have more questions. So I will tell you what will happen next week, since we're also talking and waiting for some questions. Next week I might have a guest, the last guest for this season. I can't say who because it's not yet confirmed. And the week after it will be episode number 25, where I will end season 1 of G.GOES Live. I will say goodbye to you, take a break. Actually, it's not a break. I will be working for season 2, but I will be shooting a lot of tutorials. So it will be more beneficial for the viewer. Less time, of course, and you can see me doing things technically, whether on hardware or in software. I will share my screen and I will find a way to broadcast all these live. G.GOES Live will stay, of course. It will be 25 episodes per season, and then 25 times 4, there will be 100 one day, and that's because I have an OCD about this. And I did 5 refresh sessions. That's Rakan again. I did 5 refresh sessions when you started the school idea. Miss those days. I rediscovered a lost 5 years in my DJ years, shocked by the MK1 or 2 lol. Yeah, Rakan, I remember those days. Old days. Now we're using technology, of course, but we're keeping the base, the essential. We don't teach sync, we don't do it, but I am completely up for it. I'm not against it. I've said this a lot of times, and but first of all, the students must learn the foundation of DJing, must learn about beat matching, must learn about all these things, and later on, after that, they can, of course, and I support this, they can use sync, they can use hot cues, they can use playlist management, they can use record box, they can use mixed-in key, they can use all these things. So you guys, I will only give 5 more minutes because this is a question and answer session, And as I said, when I run out of questions, I will have to say goodbye. I'm a bit tired. I'm really tired in this phase in my life. I launched 5 big projects at the same time. Some of them weren't invited to, weren't planned. I mean, I launched Per-vurt Session Video Edition. We're shooting a lot, and I launched also the A Day With, which will start on Friday with Robert Babic, and later on we will have more international artists coming to the studio to give master classes and workshop. G.GOES Live, it was a joke also at the beginning, 23 weeks ago, and happily saying I love to do it, but I need to stop it 2 weeks from now to start another season of G.GOES Live later on. I need a break. And also, of course, we are overbooked and fully booked with the courses and students. Some people really are putting us under pressure because they can't wait any longer, and we cannot do anything. And it's really it's hectic, and I'm alone. I always say we. There's no we here. It's only me. I also clean the store. I open it. I close it. Sometimes I sleep here, sometimes, you know. So let's see. Sam J. I'm constructing a track and I have my chords built in a specific scale. Should the melody notes follow the chords or scale? Sam, this is an excellent question. I will answer it now. Rami Shatira is asking, when is the best time to take the advanced DJ course? As you know, I finished the first course and now I'm practicing. Rami, I can give you a course anytime you want. Actually, not anytime you want, but my advice to you is to keep practicing for now, and later on when you practice and when you save all those techniques in your subconscious, that's what practicing is all about. You need to repeat the same thing over and over again so that it will be stuck in your subconscious. When you do that, you will be ready later on to take an advanced course, because at one point you just need to be so quick in beat matching, so quick in understanding the transition between tracks, so quick in making a decision on what technique you use on the mixer. They need time, okay? So after that, of course, you can apply with Hilal as well for an advanced course where we will hide the screen, no more screen, and you will be beat matching by ear as if you're doing vinyl. Playing vinyl, sorry, doing is perverted a little bit. So Sam, let me answer you. This question is very important. Sam is asking, I'm constructing a track and I have my chords built in a specific scale. So he has a chord progression, okay, in a specific scale, let's say F minor, okay? He's asking, should the melody notes follow the chords or scale? Now, I think there is a misunderstanding here, Sam. You need to differentiate, of course. You need to understand these things. First of all, a scale. What is a scale? I said a scale. Basically, you have two scales, two main scales. You have a minor scale and a major scale. And you have 12 keys under this scale and 12 keys under this scale. So in Western music, you only have, you have 24 keys, okay? For example, you have C major, C minor, C sharp major, C sharp minor, D major, D minor. You have 24 keys. 12 of them are on minor, and you have a set of 12 keys that are relative to those on the major scale. So when you choose a key, let's say you're producing a track on F minor, so you only have 7 notes to touch. Okay, I talked a lot about this, by the way, in my previous episode last week. You have 7 notes only, okay, to touch. Those 7 notes will form your bass line, your melody. Even if someone is singing, he should be or she should be singing on those 7 notes only, nothing else. The 8th will be a clashing note, okay? So when you're constructing your chords, you are actually playing chords. You're hitting a triad, for example, 3 notes that are from those 7 notes in your key of F minor, okay? Now you're asking, should the melody notes follow the chords or scale? My answer to you, it's not a, your question should be asked in a different way maybe, but the melody notes, it doesn't have to follow anything, but it should belong to the scale. So when you play a melody, those notes should belong to the scale. Now, for example, Daft Punk, they sometimes get out of the box when they produce, okay? The melody line, when they start a melody, because you know the melody has a starting note, okay? This is the root note of the melody. The starting note of the melody might not be exactly the root note of the key itself. So if you're producing an F minor track, the first note of your melody might not be F, okay? Might be another note from the 7 notes, of course, in F minor. So the melody might have notes that are common with the chords, for example, or might not have any notes common with anything, but they should fall below or under the notes of this specific key, which is F minor, okay? Now, the question is, if you want to be that creative and do a melody that is not actually following the chord or following the actual root note of the scale of the key, will your track be supported? Will your track be nice? Will your track have a lot of listeners? That's the big question, because when you produce music in a way that is not too logically harmonic with each other as layers, some people might not like it. It might not be easy on their ears, okay? Now, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're producing a chord progression. The first chord is F minor chord. That's the first chord in your key. And it shouldn't be the first, by the way. You can play it later. You can never play F minor chord in an F minor track. That's your decision. But the most logical chord to play, the first chord, which is the root chord in F minor track, which is the F minor chord. Okay, that's an F, and then you have the other note, which is 3 semitones away. Then you have the other note, which is 4 semitones away. So you played the F minor chord, and then you do another progression. Okay, now you're not playing anything. You're not playing bass line. The most logical bass line should be the bass note of the chord. Okay, so the first bass note should be an F. But there's no should and shouldn't in music. It's complete freedom. If you are pressing any other note than those 7 notes, okay? So you cannot play the 8th or 9th or 10th. You can't. You have to know what are the 7 notes in the F minor, and you can choose any note in your bass line, okay? Now, as I said, if you start with an F bass under the F minor chord, then it will be easy on the ear. Now I'll tell you something. This chord, which is F minor chord, could be played in root position. It could be played F as the first note with your thumb. But if you invert the chord, you can invert it in 2 ways if it's a triad. So the F will be the last note, not the first note. And this is when your bass line could be the second note of your chord, not the first note of your chord. Okay, so it's a bass line. So what's the first note of the chord? This is where your bass line is. Now you can change that, of course, but I'm telling you how your song can be easy on the ear. Now when it comes to melody, the melody, if it starts by the root note of the key, you can start with it and you can go away, go far from home, okay? Far away, and then when the next chord comes in, you have to go back to the home note or to the home note of that chord. So if you're playing an F minor chord, then you're playing a C sharp major chord, for example, you play a melody starting from the F minor, from the F note, sorry, and then when the next chord, which is C sharp major, you go back to note C and you start another melody on note C. That's one way of composition, okay, which is easy on the ear. It doesn't have to be always like this, but what I can summarize this and end this subject is by telling you that you are free to play any note of the scale. So you must limit yourself with only 7 notes in this scale. How you play them and the sequence you play them is your subjective, your creative, your way, okay? It's not right and wrong. There's no right and wrong. When you are working inside a scale, hitting only those correct notes of the scales, the correct notes of the scale. But other than this, how you sequence your notes, what chords to play, what notes to play, what bass line to play, is completely subjective and up to you. The big question is whether your track will be listened to, supported, liked by people or not. Okay? And by the way, I will tell you something that now you can, for people who don't know what notes, chords, and minor, major scales are. There's this keyboard that I was talking about last week. This is the evolution now in music. It's making a huge change in the industry, in the music industry. Anyone now can play correct notes and chords. No more wrong notes and no more wrong chords. This is the slogan I did in the video that I'm shooting. I have been shooting actually for a while. And it will be out very soon. Maybe next week you will watch a demonstration on it. This is a keyboard with LED lights on each note. You can choose your scale and your key, and this keyboard will illuminate the notes that are in your scale, in your key, and all the wrong notes will be turned off. So anything you touch, anything you play, whether a bass line, melody, or chord progression or arpeggiation, they are all in your key, okay? And the good thing about this keyboard is that in one hit of one note, this will generate a chord. So you don't have to do the formulas, the tones and semitones and R4-3, R3-4, 1-3-5, 1-3-5-7, etc. Those are things that are very complicated for people who don't actually know music theory. And this keyboard came for those people to just be playing music in key all the time. And in one hit of a key, of a physical key, I mean, you will be actually generating a very complex chord progression that can be turned into arpeggiations and a lot of other things. Very beautiful keyboard, very interesting keyboard. This is a must-have keyboard, which is called the Complete Control S49 and 61 MK2 from Native Instruments, which I'm fortunate to be their exclusive and official dealer in Lebanon since 4 years. And also they released the Machina MK3. I'm not a big fan of it, but it also does a lot of things. Ableton Push does so many things as well related to music theory for computer musician. It can illuminate the correct notes and chords, and it will turn off the wrong ones, and it can let you play now in a different way, not a keyboard but a pattern of pads. You can just have a triangle shape like this, pad, pad, pad. When you hit on 3 pads, when you keep the same shape and you hit on any other 3 pads, you will be actually playing a perfect progression for the chord. This is just technology. This is amazing, and I'm really fortunate to also be the exclusive dealer for Ableton in Lebanon. And those two together, they can do magic, okay? Other than the many things they can do, from sequencing drums on the fly to actually calling for automations to browsing presets. And they have this huge screen. The Complete has 2 big screens for browsing, for sequencing. You can check, you can see all the arrangements on the screen, and you can also have full integration with your DAW. So from the keyboard, you can just press record chord progression, go to another plugin, choose another preset, press record on a different channel, record a bass line, etc. You can do a track in just few minutes, and it's perfect and harmonic and musical. So you guys, I think I need to leave now, unless you have more questions. Let's check. If you do have more questions, post them now, and I will be glad to answer you. Let's see if someone has any question. 1 second. Thanks, Mo. Thanks again. First course and now practicing, etc., etc., etc. We don't have questions. Anyway, I talked a lot. I'm a bit tired and sick. Not sick actually physically. I'm sick. I'm tired. And at one point I didn't want to go online tonight, but I can't. Actually, I will miss you a lot, you guys. But 2 weeks from now, it will be episode 25. And this is when I will stop this first season, and I will come back in 1 month maybe. So you guys, thank you for watching me again and again and again. I love you so much, and you have all my really, you have all my support and all my love. Thank you again. Thanks million times for watching, sharing, and being always with me. Until then, next week, of course, you guys be safe, be good. Sending you all my love from Per-vurt, DJ Music Production School and Studios. Salute.